Mhm. So I tweeted the other day. I said, stop arguing with people about their opinion.
Right.
You know, because
If it's their favorites, it's their favorites, not mine.
yep, yep. And people will argue, and I get it. You know, communication. I get it. Just healthy, conversation. But I'm just like, whatever you were going through, that's just gonna
Mm-hmm.
be your album. And you'll be like, that album was trash, and you just be thinking they be thinking like, yeah, but I had this girl pregnant, and I didn't know what
Right.
I was gonna do, and I was listening to, Lord knows, I don't know, but
Right.
that just made sense to them during that time.
No doubt. You hit the nail on the head. I couldn't agree more.
Hmm. Yeah, man. How do with you being a family man? Because I know you had a son that recently graduated college.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Yep.
and then you have 3 kids, right?
Yeah, we have four.
Four.
Dion is 22. He just graduated from college. He's in grad school now. Cameron is 19. He's in college. He's a college sophomore. Brandon is a high school freshman, and our daughter Skylar, she's the only girl. She's in the 5th grade.
Mm. So how do you balance uh kids, especially the kind of like they in different seasons of life, right? They aren't like steps where
Mm.
one is 15, 14, 13. you
Right.
know how do you balance that with, of course, you need the quality time with the wife because you got to put that time in,
Of course.
and then got time to do 12 Kyle podcast, and then for it to be as good as it is.
Hmm.
No shade to any other podcasters. There's
I
some great
appreciate it.
ones, but there's some other ones I just like, but your content is always good. It's always good. So how do you do that, like trying to find that balancing act?
Man, let me tell you something. This when I saw this question, I lit up because I've never been asked this question before, and I actually want to get your answer to this question too because I don't think I knew you had kids, but I don't think I knew their ages until I saw a picture you posted like day before yesterday or something. I was like, oh, he's got younger kids. So, like I thought maybe you had an older child, but I wasn't sure that you had kids this young. But anyway, to answer your question, it is a balance. What I try to do is I try to make sure because the ideas, from having a podcast and being able to create content,
Mm-hmm.
those ideas come at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So I started writing these things down and putting in my notes app in my phone. And I have right now like at least 10, 15 podcast ideas already complete. Notwithstanding the albums that I'm going to review for, that's turning 20 or 30 years this year. And so you get that. So I get those ideas and like, okay, I want to do a podcast with this. And then you start thinking, okay, well, do I want to do it by myself or do I want to get somebody else on? And I might bring somebody on. So then it's when I'm having a guest on, what I try to do is I'm flexible with their time. So if I got you on and you say, well, hey Kyle, I could do Saturday at 5. I check we have a family calendar. I'll check the family calendar, make sure that nobody has anything, nobody has basketball practice or whatever the case, piano practice, Skylar has tennis practice, whatever. Check that. Once I check that, then I'll check with my wife and say, hey, you got something going on? Is something not on the calendar? Because she's got a busy social life too. And so if it's clear, then I'll go ahead and set the recording with the guest. Um, my podcast, when I'm recording for the 12 Kyle podcast, I normally record on. There's no set time. It really it could be at 12:30 at night. It could be at 7:30 on a Saturday morning. It just depends on whenever I can see that I have a window. Particularly now, if nobody's if we have a kind of like a routine around here. My wife, she's usually the first one to once the kids go to bed, she's not a person that's going to stay up late. I'm the late owl. I'm the one that'll be up till 12:30 sometimes. But I work from home, so it's not like I got to get up and go jump on 285 in the morning or whatever like that. So I have a lot of freedom.
Mm-hmm.
Depending on how things are going at work in a particular time, I may be able to do a quick podcast, 30, 40-minute podcast, at home during the day. So I have a lot of flexibility in that aspect. Um, I try to make sure that we're doing enough with the kids. It's an adjustment for us because we went from having all 4 kids in the house, and then you got one going off to college, and you got 3 here. And they have their activities, and then we're ripping and running, going here, going there. You already know. And then Cameron goes to college. So now we do. So then I'm telling you, Sean, we're sitting there thinking, oh man, we just have two here. We're gonna have all this free time. We're gonna have time to do this, that. No, and then it's okay. Skylar's got tennis practice. Brandon's got basketball practice, and then my wife has she's has sorority meets with the Deltas, and then I got this over here. And it's like sometimes we're all going in different directions, and then there's sometimes where I still have to look at the calendar and say, you know what, Friday night we're going out to dinner, just the two of us.
Mm-hmm.
That's it. And we have to do that. We have, and it has to be those conversations and those times where we got to get away, and it's not talking about business, because in a marriage is this business. We got to talk about bills. We got to talk about what we're doing. We sometimes business could be, hey, where we going to eat tonight?
Mm-hmm.
So all of that stuff. Hey, this one needs some new sneakers. This one needs a new winter coat. That's business. And then it has to be also conversations about us, conversations about, where we're going, how's work, what's stressing us out, whatever the case may be. And I try to make sure that we have those conversations as well. And not that there's too much space in between those date nights. And that, COVID has made stuff a little bit more difficult, because we used to do date nights, like once a week, once every other week. And COVID after that, when COVID really, really hit, we was like, no, we ain't trying to go out to dinner, or if we could go out to dinner, we want to be outside, not, now it's too cold. But it's a balance, man. You already, it's a true balance, man. But I don't let the podcast get in the way of spending quality time with the kids. I don't let it get in the way of spending quality time with my wife. I don't let it get in the way of, my own personal quality time. Because I record in my office, and this is also where I work. So when I finish work, Sean, if I finish at 5:00, I make it my business to get up and walk out of this room. Because you gotta separate it, and I might walk out of this room and I might say, okay, well, hey, I'm gonna do a podcast later tonight, but I might not come back in this room for another 3 or 4 hours, because I just want to separate. So when I come back in the room, the energy of creativity is there, because the energy that I had was just work energy. I want to get away from that work energy. I want the creativity energy. And but it's a balance, man. It's a balance, but I can't say that it's necessarily easy. It's not hard either. It's just finding the time, and then creating the time. And then there's been times, and I'm sure you've done this too, where you just got to get a podcast out. It might cut into your sleep time, just because you want to. You got something in you, and you want to get it out, and you just got to get it out there. And it might take 10 minutes, it might take 40 minutes, it might take an hour, but that's the podcast that you had to get out. So you'll sacrifice, an hour of sleep to do it. So, but yeah, that's my balance, man. I'm interested to hear your story, because I know, like I said, I didn't realize your kids were as young as they are, and you being, married and everything. So how do you balance it?
Oh, man. Yeah, see, your kids are older, so you do have that benefit kind of thing. It ain't like you changing diapers. Yeah, man. I will say,
how old are your kids?
I have an 18-year-old daughter, but she's in Arizona.
Okay.
Because she just graduated high school, and then we have a 7-year-old, and he was from my wife's previous relationship.
Okay.
And the 18-year-old, my daughter, was from my marriage, my
first
marriage. So we had a blended family, and then we have two together. So we have a 3-year-old, and then we also have a 1-year-old. Right.
That I didn't know about the 3 and 1. Yeah, those are good times, man.
Man, when we talked about vasectomies on Twitter.
Did you get it done?
Heck yeah, man.
Oh yeah, I did too. Man, I did too.
Yeah, when you told me I was tripping out, I was like, oh, okay, we serious about this. Because we got to talking about the time and stuff like that.
Sure did. 15 minutes in and out.
Right? Because I think a week later, after my wife had our 1-year-old, I went in. She, it was like she's coming out the hospital. I was going in, and I was like, we can't do this.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? So, but anyway, to answer your question, it's somewhat similar to yours, because I do check with my wife with our calendars, our schedules. because our kids, our two youngest ones, they have like speech therapy, they got ABA therapy, like they got all this therapy going on. And our 7-year-old, like he has stuff that he does. And so we have a lot going on. But one thing I love about my wife is she allows me the time.
Mm-hmm.
Once we had that conversation, I'm like, hey, I got Kyle today at 12. You know what I'm saying? And then she's like, okay, well, I'll watch the boys or I'll lay them down, that kind of thing. All right, go and do what you need to do. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So I think having a supportive spouse makes
Yes.
that much of a difference, man, where it's like, oh, you ain't spending no time with me. You know what I'm saying? Who you gonna pick,
Yeah.
me or that podcast?
Yeah. Yeah.
You spend more time with Kyle than you do with me.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think prioritizing your marriage too and with the kids, I think that's
Fact.
very important, and giving them that individual time. Um, so because like the other day, my wife and I, we were just laying in bed watching I Think I Love My Wife last weekend.
Okay.
You know.
Man, listen, that's an interesting movie, to say the
Very
least.
interesting. And I'm thinking, like, damn, ain't much change. Like, dude's still out here doing craziness in
Oh yeah,
2022.
man. It's
Um,
crazy.
yeah, right. Yeah, so it's just really about, like you said, a balancing act and the communication. I think that's really key. And my wife see how much I love this. So I know a lot of times she's looking like, if I give him his little time, you know what I'm saying? Get that out of the system.
Mm-hmm.
He'll be good to go. Because sometimes, Kyle, like you said, the creativity piece, you have so much stuff going in your head, and you just like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, I got to get this out. So what I started doing was I started writing on a dry erase board. I'm
Okay.
super old school. So
Yeah,
dry
that's old
erase
school.
board. Yeah, right. I have 6 or 7 topics just on my dry erase board. Okay, these things need to be addressed.
Mm-hmm.
And even like you said, sacrifice and sleep. Prime example. Last night I got off work. Well, this morning I got off work, slept for a couple hours, and I woke up and I was like, okay, I got to record with Kyle. So
Wow.
sometimes I do sacrifice sleep, but I understand how important this is to me. And then the games come on today, so I'm just like, it's just gonna be a long day today.
Yes. Yes. Yes.